Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as you know, GG decided to patch the Mercs 2 times in the last 2 days. So there have been some basic changes. I also been experimenting with some part of my Merc setup, reaching pretty much the point when I think I have a very good Merc that works just perfect with any lightning build and going to multiply your damage, but on top of it, it's also going to survive pretty consistently. So in this video, I'm going to cover what kind of items I'm using for that Merc, what kind of other items you can use to get a little more out of it, how you can make your Merc pretty tanky so it will survive almost everything, what kind of maps you shouldn't run with your Merc, and what kind of Anoint you should use for your Merc's amulet. Let's go and I will be able to explain how all of that works. So first off, before that, I've been using the Storming Zealot Merc. I showcased it in my previous video, it's mostly been used for the Wrath aura, which is pretty good. After some testing, I figured out that Mercs has a very high level of auras. They can reach like up to level 25 auras, and even the Wrath that Merc can provide could be better than aura that you have yourself. However, due to some changes, I believe that Storming Zealot right now is not working that good with the build anymore, and for the most of the lightning builds, I think it's much easier to just move to the Kineticist. Why? Because right now, Kineticist can provide a very important bonus, which is haste. For other type of builds, you can utilize Elemental Weakness, that way you will need to use a dedicated ring for additional curses on your Merc. However, if you're just playing Lightning as I'm doing that, you can just run Kineticist mostly for high-level haste, together with additional bonuses from items. It's also pretty important that I compared stats from level 83 Kineticist and level 84 Kineticist from just tier 17 maps, and one at level 84 will have better stats in general, so if you can get one from tier 17, do that. But if you cannot, just run level 83. Kineticist is pretty much here because it will give you all 3 types of stats, and right now the type of Mercs is pretty popular. So what kind of items I'm currently running on that? And that's pretty much the whole idea. We're still using the Dorianis prototype setup, because it's going to multiply your lightning damage as I showcased in my previous video, together with double rings with minus lightning resistance. At the proper Kineticist setup, you can reach up to minus 192 lightning resistance at your Merc, which is going to give you an amazing bonus damage. And it's going to work very good. But how to make that Merc survive? Since GG been changing like back and forth, I think right now Merc surviving pretty fine. But I decided to add additional layers to make it like tankier, so it will survive easier, especially in tier 17s. So first off, I'm going to stack life regeneration per second for that Merc, because the armor that Merc has is kinda too low. That way, just life regeneration is going to provide a huge survivability for the Merc. How we're going to do that? First off, since we're using Kineticist, I think it's very recommended to run Dawnbreaker Colossal Tower Shield. Dawnbreaker here is just an amazing option, because that way you'll get 20% lightning damage taken as fire damage, and your Merc is going to survive better. It's also providing some chance to block and a huge chunk of armor, which will boost survivability of the Merc in general. On top of it, we're still using Mortal Flash, because it can give huge life regeneration just by itself and minus resistances. It's also pretty important to cap your fire and cold resistances together, and not just stack regeneration. Getting a little chaos is also recommended, so for that I'm using boots and gloves. But a pretty important part right here, that at the boots I have increased life regeneration rate, together with increased life regeneration rate implicit, and at the gloves I have increased life regeneration rate again, together with some resistances. Another important part right here, that for additional damage I'm rolling chance to intimidate enemies for seconds on hit, because intimidation is going to boost the damage of my smite, which is stacking pretty good for it. Second implicit could be any, if you're playing not just the lightning damage or like other type of damage, you can run some kind of exposure right here, but I'm playing just lightning, so I'm running additional small percent of suppress. As a wand, I recommend to run Eclipse Solaris. It gives you nearby enemies are blinded, which is absolutely amazing to be honest, and it's going to provide additional defensive layer for your character. And helmet probably is one of the most interesting items right here. We can run two options. First one is Wolf Vision. It just provides huge chunk of additional life together with 400 regenerate life per second. And just make sure that known items on your Merc are corrupted. That way, I think it's boosting survivability significantly. However, there's another option, which is Blood Price River Helmet. It provides nearby enemies monsters have at least 8% of life reserve. That way, if you're going to use that simple helmet, it's going to give you 8% of additional culling bonus on all enemies, just like including bosses. It still will provide additional regeneration, but unfortunately the maximum life is going to fall and life regeneration will be only 2600. I'm preferring that for almost all the places, including tier 17, but if you still feel like your Merc is dying more, Wolf's Vision is definitely an option. And the last part is just the amulet. For the amulet, we're still playing Perkwills too, and the only big question right here is what kind of Anoint we should use. As an Anoint, I'm running Hearty right now. It gives 2% life regeneration and 15% increased life regeneration rate. That way we're receiving more and more regeneration. It's also pretty cheap, you can get it for a very low price, so I think it's a very decent option. If you dislike that idea, you can still run something basic such as Juggernaut, for example, or even Barbarism. But it will cost a little more, and just amount of life will not protect the Merc in very bad situations. So I would probably stuck with Hearty, because in my opinion, that's just like a very good combination between the cost and success. So in general, Merc should have as low lightning resistance as we can get, and the maximum will be like minus 200% right here, but minus 190 is pretty much enough. And capped fire and cold resistances together with as much life as we can get out of that, with some energy shield, some chaos resistance and stuff like that. So how that Merc is even dying? I think the biggest issue is pretty much very big elemental hits, which are pretty much one-shotting the Merc almost immediately. So against tier 17 bosses, sometimes Merc still could die because of his negative lightning resistance. And another very important part to mention, Mercs currently can have issues with reflected damage. It's hard to completely confirm it, but since that Merc can do only lightning damage, because deal no non-lightning damage is bonus from the Rainis prototype, I still feel like reflection for some reason are killing them. It's not happening often, but I feel like sometimes maybe some particular kind of abilities such as Greater Kinetic Blast or some other option is killing them in the maps with Elemental Reflect. So if you want your Merc to survive, I generally recommend not to run maps with Elemental Reflects at all. Also, if you can get additional bonus such as Inspiring Cry for your Kineticist, I think it could be nice because it can pretty much give you like a little increased damage and mana regeneration to allies, and it's going to use it constantly. So get more regeneration, make sure your resistances are capped, and avoid maps with Reflect because it's very hard to say what kind of interaction is killing them there. And I'm absolutely sure your Merc experience will be great. And Blood Price is a very great addition which can make your whole situation like much better, especially against bosses with a huge chunk of life and even Ubers. So use that helmet because it's very cheap right now. That's been it, and I hope your Merc will stay very healthy and will provide a huge bonus damage to you as well. Thank you very much for watching, and ronarray out.